The Abu Sayyaf Group, ASG, is a militant Islamist group based in the southern Philippines, primarily on the island of Mindanao. It was founded in the early 1990s by Abdurrajak Janjalani, who was influenced by the ideology of al-Qaeda. The group initially received support from al-Qaeda and its affiliates, with the goal of establishing an independent Islamic state in the Philippines. Over time, the ASG gained notoriety for engaging in violent activities, including bombings, kidnappings for ransom, and attacks on military and civilian targets. Some of the most infamous incidents involved kidnappings of foreign nationals, including tourists and workers, and demands for large ransoms. The group's actions have often involved extreme violence, and they have been responsible for several high-profile attacks, such as the 2001 kidnapping of 20 hostages, including Americans, from a resort in Palawan. In addition to criminal activities, the ASG has been linked to Islamic extremist ideologies, particularly the global jihadist movement. The group has maintained ties to international terror organizations, including al-Qaeda and later ISIS, especially as the latter's influence expanded in the region in the 2010s. The ASG's leadership has included individuals who have pledged allegiance to ISIS, and the group's tactics have sometimes mirrored those of other extremist groups, such as beheadings and bombings. The Philippine government has made extensive efforts to combat the ASG, including military operations and cooperation with international partners. However, the group continues to operate in parts of Mindanao, despite significant losses in leadership and territory. ASG's influence is also bolstered by the complex political, social, and economic issues in the region, including separatist movements, poverty, and weak governance. The Abu Sayyaf Group, ASG, has evolved over the years, but its core objectives have remained largely consistent: to establish an Islamic state in the southern Philippines through violent means and to profit from criminal activities, particularly kidnapping for ransom. 1. Early years and formation, 1991 to 1996. The ASG was founded in the early 1990s by Abdurrajak Janjalani, a former student of the Philippine Madrasa, Islamic school. He was influenced by the teachings of radical Islam and sought to create an Islamic state in the Philippines' predominantly Muslim regions of Mindanao and Sulu. Janjalani's group had strong ties to al-Qaeda during its early years, and he received financial and logistical support from the organization. The ASG initially sought to fight for an independent Islamic state within the Philippines, distinct from the Moro National Liberation Front, MNLF, and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, MILF, both of which had been involved in long-standing insurgencies with the Philippine government. While the MNLF and MILF focused on negotiation and political solutions, the ASG adopted a more radical, violent approach. 2. Janjalani's leadership and early attacks, 1991 to 1998. Under Janjalani's leadership, the ASG carried out its first major attack in 1991, targeting military and police installations in the Sulu archipelago. The group also began conducting kidnappings, extorting ransoms from local businesses and foreign nationals. Janjalani's group quickly gained notoriety for their ruthless tactics, including bombings and attacks on civilian populations. The group's influence expanded when they kidnapped a group of foreign tourists from a resort in Palawan in 1995. By this time, the Philippine government recognized the ASG as a growing threat, but its reach and resources were limited. Despite this, the ASG's attacks were significant enough to attract global attention. 3. Peak of activity and international notoriety, 1998 to 2005. After Abdurrajak Janjalani was killed in 1998 in a firefight with Philippine military forces, the leadership of the ASG passed to his younger brother, Codify Janjalani, and other figures within the group. The group's activities during this period saw the rise of high-profile kidnappings and attacks that escalated the ASG's international notoriety. In 2000, the ASG abducted 20 hostages, including 3 Americans, from a resort on the island of Palawan. This operation marked the start of a series of kidnappings in the region. The ASG's demands for ransom were often astronomical, and the group began gaining financial resources from these activities, strengthening its ability to conduct further attacks. The group's tactics grew more violent, including bombings, assaults on military outposts, and beheadings of hostages. The ASG also became notorious for its brutal execution of foreign hostages, a tactic that drew global condemnation. In 2004, the ASG was responsible for one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in the Philippines, the bombing of a ferry in Manila Bay, which killed more than 100 people. 4. Links to al-Qaeda and ISIS, 2006 to 2014. In the early 2000s, the ASG developed a closer relationship with al-Qaeda and other international jihadist networks. The Philippine military launched numerous offensives against the group, but despite these efforts, the ASG managed to survive and adapt, using the dense jungles and remote islands in the southern Philippines as safe havens. After the death of Codify Janjalani in 2006, the group splintered into factions under different commanders. The ASG's survival was aided by external funds from radical Islamic networks, including al-Qaeda. During this period, the ASG's activities focused increasingly on kidnappings for ransom, especially targeting foreign nationals, including workers from Western countries, humanitarian workers, and tourists. In 2014, ASG declared allegiance to ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, signaling its alignment with global jihadist movements. This affiliation marked a shift toward ISIS-style tactics, such as beheadings and executions of captives, to gain attention and recruit new members. The Philippine government responded by ramping up its counterterrorism operations. 5. Recent developments, 2015-present. The ASG's influence continued to grow in the southern Philippines, despite efforts by the government and military to eradicate them. By 2016, the group had fractured into smaller factions led by different commanders. One of the most notorious of these was the faction led by Isnal and Hapalan, who was linked to ISIS. Under Hapalan's leadership, the ASG took part in a violent insurgency in Marawi City in 2017. This conflict, known as the Marawi Siege, lasted 5 months and involved fierce fighting between Philippine government forces and the ASG, along with other Islamist militant groups. The siege resulted in hundreds of casualties, widespread destruction, and the displacement of thousands of people. Although Hapalan was killed in October 2017, the ASG continues to operate, with some remnants involved in sporadic violence and continued abductions. The group has shown resilience despite losses, with the Philippines government continuing to target ASG cells through military operations. In recent years, ASG has also shown a growing link to regional terrorist organizations and an increase in attacks involving bombings and other forms of violence, particularly in areas such as Sulu and Basilan. These actions continue to destabilize the region, with many of the group's operations involving extortion, criminal activity, and terror. 6. Current status. While the ASG's ability to carry out large-scale attacks has diminished due to continuous military pressure, the group remains active. The group's role as a destabilizing force in the southern Philippines persists, and the government, in cooperation with international partners like the United States, has continued its counterterrorism efforts to dismantle the ASG. The group is also facing growing opposition from other insurgent factions, which sometimes leads to infighting among them. Despite these challenges, the Abu Sayyaf Group's survival is facilitated by factors such as the difficult geography of the region, the complex political and social issues within the Philippines, and the ongoing conflict between different Islamic insurgent groups. Additionally, the ASG's continued use of kidnappings for ransom and extortion allows it to sustain itself financially. Conclusion. The Abu Sayyaf Group remains one of the most dangerous and persistent terrorist organizations in Southeast Asia. While the group's initial goal was to establish an Islamic State in the southern Philippines, its activities have expanded to include international terrorism, kidnappings, and alliances with global jihadist networks. The ASG's evolution from a local insurgent group to a transnational terror organization illustrates the shifting dynamics of Islamic extremism in Southeast Asia and highlights the challenges faced by both local and international counterterrorism efforts. 7. Factors contributing to ASG's persistence. Several factors contribute to the ongoing resilience of the Abu Sayyaf Group, ASG, despite the Philippine government's ongoing military operations to eliminate the group. These factors include: A. Geographic advantage. The southern Philippines, particularly the Sulu Archipelago, Basilan, and parts of Mindanao, offers a challenging terrain for military operations. Dense jungles, remote islands, and a lack of infrastructure make it difficult for the Philippine government to fully control these regions. The ASG has established strongholds in these areas, using the terrain to hide from security forces, launch surprise attacks, and evade capture. B. Support from local communities. The ASG has managed to maintain a degree of support or passive tolerance from some segments of local communities in the southern Philippines. This support may come from shared grievances over economic hardship, historical marginalization, and the ongoing conflict between Muslim separatist groups and the Philippine government. In some cases, the ASG has been able to exploit these sentiments, offering protection or resources in exchange for loyalty or cooperation. However, it's important to note that the group's violent tactics and extremism have alienated many local residents. C. Kidnapping for ransom. One of the ASG's most lucrative activities is kidnapping for ransom. Over the years, the group has repeatedly targeted foreigners, businessmen, humanitarian workers, and even local officials. Kidnapping has become a primary revenue stream for the ASG, enabling them to finance their operations, purchase weapons, and pay for the maintenance of their networks. Hostage crises often attract attention from international media, and the ASG has used this publicity as a means of gaining recognition and furthering their objectives. D. Ideological alignment with global jihadist movements. The ASG's adoption of global jihadist ideologies, especially after aligning with ISIS, has given it a sense of purpose and legitimacy in the eyes of international terrorist networks. By pledging allegiance to ISIS, the ASG has received both moral and material support from radical Islamist organizations. This alignment with global jihadist movements provides the ASG with ideological inspiration and resources to continue its operations, despite heavy pressure from local authorities. E. Fragmentation and adaptability. The ASG has not operated as a single, unified group but rather as a loose collection of factions led by different commanders. While the group has suffered major losses in leadership over the years, these factions have remained resilient, adapting to changes in leadership and external pressures. This fragmentation makes it more difficult for the Philippine military to dismantle the group completely, as the various factions often operate independently, but still maintain the core mission of spreading terror and seeking financial gain. 8. Counterterrorism efforts and international cooperation. The Philippine government has long recognized the threat posed by the ASG and has made various efforts to eradicate the group. These efforts include both military operations and cooperation with international partners. Key strategies have included: A. Military operations. The Philippine Armed Forces have launched numerous operations against the ASG, particularly in areas such as Sulu, Basilan, and Toy-Toy. These operations have been aimed at eliminating key ASG leaders, disrupting their operations, and reclaiming territory under their control. The military's use of airstrikes, ground assaults, and intelligence operations has led to the deaths or captures of several high-ranking ASG members, but the group has proven difficult to fully defeat. B. U.S. and international support. The Philippines has received substantial military and counterterrorism assistance from the United States and other international partners. The U.S. has provided training, equipment, intelligence, and logistical support to the Philippine military to enhance their counterterrorism capabilities. The U.S. has also deployed special operations forces to assist in the fight against the ASG, focusing on intelligence sharing and counterinsurgency tactics. Additionally, the Philippines has cooperated with other regional actors, such as Indonesia and Malaysia, to monitor and combat terrorist activities in the region. C. Financial sanctions. The ASG has been designated as a terrorist organization by several governments, including the United States, Canada, and the European Union. These designations have facilitated efforts to target the ASG's finances, including freezing assets, blocking funding, and pressuring countries to cut off financial support. In 2002, the U.S. added the ASG to its list of foreign terrorist organizations, which helped limit the group's ability to operate freely. D. Countering radicalization. Another key element of the fight against the ASG has been efforts to counter radicalization and prevent the recruitment of new fighters. This involves initiatives aimed at addressing the root causes of terrorism, including poverty, political disenfranchisement, and the spread of extremist ideologies in local communities. Religious leaders, educators, and community groups have worked to promote moderate Islam and discourage violent extremism, although such efforts have faced significant challenges. E. Law enforcement and intelligence gathering. Philippine law enforcement agencies, including the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, and the Philippine National Police, PNP, have worked alongside the military and international partners to gather intelligence on ASG activities, disrupt its logistics and communications, and apprehend members involved in criminal and terrorist activities. These efforts have led to the arrest of several ASG operatives and the disruption of some of their operations, although the group decentralized nature makes intelligence gathering difficult. 9. The future of the Abu Sayyaf Group. Despite years of military and counterterrorism efforts, the Abu Sayyaf Group continues to pose a significant threat to security in the Philippines and the broader Southeast Asian region. The group remains a dangerous and unpredictable force, and several challenges will continue to hinder efforts to fully eliminate it. Persistent local grievances, the ongoing socio-political challenges in the southern Philippines, including poverty, corruption, and the lack of effective governance, continue to provide fertile ground for extremist groups like ASG to recruit fighters and garner local support. Regional instability. The broader regional context of Islamic extremism in Southeast Asia, particularly the rise of ISIS and other jihadist groups, will likely continue to influence the ASG's activities and inspire new recruits. The role of external actors. The ability of external actors like the U.S. to provide support to the Philippines will play a critical role in curbing the ASG's influence. However, any shift in international priorities or foreign policy could alter the dynamics of this fight. In conclusion, while the ASG has faced significant setbacks and casualties in recent years, its persistence in the face of both internal and external pressures highlights its adaptability and the complex challenges of combating extremist groups in regions with weak state control. The fight against the ASG is likely to continue for the foreseeable future, requiring sustained military, political, and socio-economic efforts to address the root causes of extremism in the region.